All right, to continue on from my last video, I want to actually take this time to add some scripts to my package.json file so I don't have to keep going into the CLI or the command line to run these commands. I want to be able to just do it from a simple script. And if I have any other developers that want to download this, they can also use the same commands to execute their builds. So let me go in and add into the script block. We're gonna call it Webpack Dev. Webpack Dev. And what we're gonna do is reference modules bin Webpack config, and it's dev.config.js, and then the mode is development. There's a few other things we're gonna do. You know what? Let's do a watch on this too. There's another option called watch. Let's copy this and let's add the server. I'm gonna show you how to use the Webpack server, and that's when we get into using HTML files. Just to reference, and it's something that I won't be using to develop my WordPress sites, but it is something that you could use for prototyping pages if you feel like you need a server to do it. But all right, let's go here and go to production. I want to take this config and do prod. All right. Prod. Do this. Let's do server. No, let's do it. Do this. Keep that like that. And then do server. And we don't need to add the mode because that server already understands that we're in development. All right. So now if I go to my CLI and it's clear, yarn, run, I should be able to just do this, Webpack dev. No. No file. Oh, I didn't add it. So yarn dev Webpack, and if you're using Webpack, what is it, 4.0 and later, you wanna install Webpack CLI. Okay, so let's make sure I should be able to run this as is. So yarn Webpack :dev. Okay, now it's watching my file. So let's say, for instance, let me pull this over here, pull this there. right? To ensure that it's watching. So if I change this and I say, this is the Webpack dev server, it's watching it, right? And it also does a build on this. Now, if you use the Webpack dev server, which I don't know why I put a watch, but I just said, let's just say Webpack. This is Webpack watch. It's gonna build. Now, later when I show you the Webpack dev server, it's actually gonna build in memory, so it won't build to the distribution folder. And that's just to keep things quick. But when you're ready to build either to production or dev, you can do so by firing one of the scripts that we added here. All right, so let's go back to turn that off. And so now what I want to do is I want to test for Sass files. Now you can either use the Sass, but either extension you can use, either the Sass or the SCSS. So I like to use the Sass because it removes the brackets, and it just makes it easier for me, and it's more readable. Kind of reminds me of Python. So again, when you want to test for these file types, what you want to do is you want to write a regular expression, and then we're going to use the Sass loader. And then because we're transforming this down into CSS, we're going to also have to add the CSS loader. Because what'll happen is if you read the Sass files, it'll resolve those, but then it won't resolve the CSS files. So you need to make sure that you have the CSS loader to do that. So let's go back to our source folder, and we're just going to call this Sass. All right, now let's remove the watch off of here, because I don't want to watch. I just want to build. I'll just keep running that same command each time. All right. So if you notice that it'll continue to build. Let's see. So let's do app.sass. So this will be our root Sass file, and then we need to import and for this, because it's not JavaScript, we need to make sure that we include the extension. Now let's build. All right, it didn't resolve. It looks like we don't have the CSS loader installed, so let's install it. I also want it to be a dev dependency. And let me double check to see which. Okay, so I also need the Sass loader in this too. Sass. Okay. So if I build, it should be able to resolve. All right, let's see why we're getting this error here. Node Sass. I forgot to install Node Sass. Okay. So when resolving Sass files, you need to make sure that you have CSS loader installed, Sass loader installed, and Node Sass installed. Cannot find module Node Sass. See, did I do something wrong there? Let's see. All right, add the Node Sass. All right, there we go. I think I typed in the wrong option. It should have been a capital D. All right, now if we do that, it builds. So if we go into our dev bundle, what you'll notice is that it's like it doesn't build out our Sass into a style sheet. It actually builds it within our bundle. So what we need to do is to separate our style sheets from our bundle.js. We need to install a plugin, and that plugin will allow us to separate our style sheets from our JavaScript. So if you go to plugins and then you go down to mini CSS extract plugin, and this plugin will allow you to separate your any style sheet that you import and export it to a separate folder. So to do that, let's just go to our terminal. Then we do yarn add the mini CSS extract plugin. All right. Now we need to instantiate that plugin in our config file. So let's do mini CSS plugin equals require mini CSS plugin. All right. And then we have another within our config, which is called plugins. And if you go into the concepts, it talks about more about using plugins. And so what we have to do in that block, plugins, is you do new plugin, and then we add an options block in here, and I believe it'll be file name. And then what I like to do is add the directory path to that to build it. So I want to say CSS slash style.css. And so if we go into our build, this should build that CSS folder into our distribution folder. And did it do it? It did not. Let's see. Why didn't it do it? Sass. Let's go back. Sass CSS loader. Did it load somewhere else? No. Nope, it did not. So let's see. Let's try that again. All right, what if I do this? If I take that and then I'll build. Let's see what happens then. It is not building out my CSS. So let's visit the documentation real quick. Plugins. Let's go to mini CSS. Scroll down. Oh, I have to instantiate it within my use. So we're gonna use it. It should come after we transform. So let's do that. Loader. All right, and let's try it now and see what happens. Okay. And so now we can actually go back and add CSS. Okay. And the other thing too is if we wanted to just also add other files like CSS, we could do it that way. If you want to use less and use it in the same block, or you can also separate your blocks too. So if you had another a rules block for CSS, you can just do CSS by itself and then just run the CSS loader as is. But what's going to happen is you have to test for a CSS file that's within this folder. So if we're calling for it here, right, then we have to reference that CSS file from here, or you can reference the folder and it'll read from the folder. But what you'll need to do is if you're referencing a folder, you have to write this as a regular expression. So if I wanted to reference everything within this folder, I could do that. Or if I want to do every file that's CSS, I could do that, but the test takes care of that part. But if you're trying to reference the entire folder, then you just use an asterisk. So let me go here and let's just do body background black. Right, and so let's build this and see what we get. So after this build, we should be able to see that we got our black background for a body. All right, and again, this isn't minified only because we're in development. We can also add some other settings within here for like source mapping, but that's when we get to having to use HTML to actually see our build out in the browser. So I'll stop right here. In the next video, I'm going to continue on with this, and then we're going to move to loading in images. Thank you. So if you like this content that I just shared, please subscribe to this channel. Go ahead and hit that notification button while you're at it, so you could actually be notified when I post my next video.